Hey everybody, 86,400 more. A whole nother deck. You know my question to you. How you spending? It's just the Queen Time Machine, DrBrendaB. I am excited to be here with you today. And today I was going to talk about Santa Claus. But I'm going to wait and do that tomorrow because I do want to focus on something more important, because I believe that we can take care of this thing one solidarity second at a time simply because we can. So many of the loved ones of those lives that were unnecessarily lost in the Bondi Beach shooting are finally able to lay some of those loved ones to rest today. And the solidarity that I would like for us to stand on today, 1 second for every minute of this post, is around the tradition of Jewish deaths. You hear those are my guys, Zachariah and Zariah, and they're in a little bit of trouble tonight because they got excited. I always say blame the people, don't blame the dogs. But let me show you what they did. This was full of candy cane Christmas cookies, and they ate all of them. So I am just praying that all remains well with them and that what goes in will come out. Let us just remember and recall the solemnness of the season. Remember, this is the menorah, and we have the shamash in the middle. And if the shamash is used every night to light, and we are at night 4, then that middle candle was used to light the first candle to the furthest right, and then 1 candle each night is added towards the left. In this small emulation, all I am doing is giving something as a visual so we can know what is happening each night. So the shamash on night 1 would have lit the candle to my furthest right. That would have been 2 lightings. The next day to the left would have been an additional 3. 3 and 2 is 5. And then to the left again, and we have the shamash and the 3. So that gives us 4 plus the 5 is 9. And then tonight, if we count that shamash as 10, and then we count from right to left, that's 11, 12, 13, 14. So we're at a total of 14 lightings so far as Hanukkah continues to be celebrated. And then we are also recognizing the dreidel because a miracle happened there. And we are certainly acknowledging the guilt. And there are different sizes in the candy that I bought to use as a visual for us. There are various sizes of the gold foil wrapped chocolate that is given each night as stories are told. So here's an example of the guilt, and then the chocolate Maccabees, just as a representation of that small group that was brave enough to go against the king at that time. Those Maccabees, they ended up winning. And then remember that oil that they only had enough to burn one night burned the entire 8 for their new beginnings. So not because it is reflective of Hanukkah, but I want us to stand in solidarity of the Jewish faith and what they have had to contend with those 15 lives that have been lost. So let me just read to you some of the key points of a Jewish funeral, the funeral traditions, and why it is so important that I'm asking you to stand with me in solidarity for all of them, because we are all part of the race that matters. And we call that a human race, a race of God's creation, the kingdom time zone, which is represented by God's clock and creation's watch. So as we are watching during this dash of our lives, let us continue to be educated so that we can understand and appreciate those who may not be exactly like us. And you know what I ask you to do? That 99% that we may not agree on, how about we focus on the 1% that we do and give it 100%? And even if we disagree, on 99.99% of things. Then that 0.01%, let us give that 100% so we can coalesce in solidarity and advance positive change for all of the planet and all of creation. Because I believe that if we give 100% of agreement around various issues that are occurring, then during our 86,400 seconds that we're given, 1,440 minutes, 24 hours in one day, when we're given a new deck of time, then we're going to find that we are being strengthened more and more. Even in the midst of our differences, all of a sudden, that 0.01%, you know what I say, don't ever underestimate zero, because it never means nothing. It's always up to something. And we want to make sure that that something is good. Let me just read to you some of the tradition that I'm asking us to stand in solidarity around tonight. Jewish funeral traditions center on kavod hamet, respect for the dead, simplicity, and the natural return of the body to the earth. The process involves several stages, from preparation of the body to extended mourning periods for the living. So before the funeral and the burial, the timing, burial typically happens as soon as possible after death, ideally within 24 hours, out of the respect for the deceased. Funerals are not held on the Sabbath or major Jewish holidays. So we know that Hanukkah is not considered among those major holidays like Passover, Rosh Hashanah, or Yom Kippur. However, it is a tradition, and it is a holiday where we know attacks now have been rendered unto the Jewish body while celebrating Hanukkah. So it's called the guarding of the body, the Shmira, and please accept my apologies in advance if I am not pronouncing that correctly, but from the time of death until burial, the body is never left alone. Shomer, or a guard, stays with the body, often reciting psalms to provide comfort to the soul during the transition. And then the tahara, or the purification, and the takrashim, the shrouds, a volunteer burial society called the Shevra Kadisha, performs a ritual of cleansing the tahara of the body. The deceased is then dressed in simple plain white linen shrouds, the tashurim symbolizing equality for all in death, regardless of the wealth. The casket, the body is placed in a plain, biodegradable wooden casket called an aron, with no metal parts, so that it can return to the earth naturally. Open casket viewings are forbidden out of respect for the deceased's dignity. Embalming and cremation are traditionally forbidden in Orthodox and conservative Judaism, as the body must be returned to earth intact. Now, some Reform Jews do accept cremation. So a funeral service is typically brief and solemn, consisting of prayer, psalms, a eulogy, which is called the Hesped, and the El Mecherashemim. The memorial prayer, flowers, and music are generally not used. The Kriya, or the tearing, immediate mourners, the parent, the child, the spouse, and siblings, traditionally tear a piece of their outer clothing or a black ribbon as an outward symbol of their grief and the tear that has occurred in their hearts because of the loss. Procession and burial, mourners follow the casket to the gravesite, and an act considered a final act of kindness, the mitzvah. And remember, the mitzvahs are also occurring during the major and the minor holiday celebrations. That good act, the mitzvah, that commandment, the things that are to be done based on the Torah. And at the grave, all attendees participate in the burial by placing handfuls or shovels of earth onto the casket, often using the back of the shovel to show a reluctance to release life. And then leaving the cemetery, upon leaving the gravesite, mourners form a pathway, or a shura, for the immediate family to walk through and to receive traditional words of comfort, such as, "May the omnipresent comfort you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. Attendees then wash their hands as a symbolic separation from death before they return home. And then, even after the funeral, there's a period of mourning. Jewish tradition outlines specific stages of mourning to help the bereaved return to life. The Shiva, or 7 days, the first 7 days after the burial, are a period of intense mourning where the immediate family stays home. They sit on low stools, they cover mirrors, they refrain from personal grooming, and they are supported by the community who provides meals, the Suedat Hashvera, or meal of condolence, typically including round foods like eggs or lentils, symbolizing the cycle of life. A 7-day candle is lit and it burns continuously. And then for 30 days, Shlashim, this period lasts for 30 days after burial, including the Shiva, the 7 days prior. Mourners begin returning to daily life, but still avoid social events, parties, and other forms of entertainment. And then for an entire year, the Shanat He'evel, for those mourning a parent, this period lasts for a full year. Mourners continue to say the mourner's Kaddish prayer daily and may still avoid some festive occasions. And then an annual anniversary, a Yarzeit, and that is Yahzeit. I know that I did not do that one justice. My apologies again. The anniversary of the death is commemorated annually with the lighting of a 24-hour candle and the reciting of the Kaddish. It is also customary to place a small stone, not flowers, on the headstone when visiting the grave. So this very intricate process in how to mourn the loss of one who is lost from the Jewish tradition, we see that we all have various traditions on how we do lamentation. I always tell you, every day of lamentation is someone else's day of celebration, but every day of someone's celebration is a day of someone's lamentation. And now we see our Jewish brothers and sisters having to endure lamentation in the midst of their celebration. So what I am asking, as we consider every clock tick, and we see here 7 days, 30 days, 12 months, annual anniversary, and we also see the immediacy of within 24 hours, within 86,400 seconds, there should be this period of time from death to burial. So I am asking that our solidarity seconds, that you will provide that 1 second for every 1 minute of posts that I provide. Every 5 minutes is 300 seconds. So I'm asking for 30 seconds for every 5 minutes of my posts, that we stand in solidarity. And this post, I'm asking that solidarity to be representative of those 15 families, the larger Jewish community that lost their lives, and beyond that, those who were injured in the heinous act that we all know now occurred at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. This is very dear to my heart for a couple of reasons. One, in the 20th century, which would have been the 1900s, there were 3 times that Hanukkah began on Christmas Day. And those 3 years were 1901, 1910, 1921, and 1959. And one of those was the year I was born. So I'm not going to tell you which one. But that time is also very sacred. And in my own spirituality, I don't believe in coincidences, and I believe that it is ordaining of steps that allow us to be at certain places at certain times. So I do stand in solidarity with those that had to endure and will have to suffer well beyond the mourning time of even the anniversaries that they end up enduring under the tradition. There still is a gaping hole of loss because of the race that's called human. So I want to thank you in advance for your solidarity seconds. not because we have to, but just because we can. And not because I'm asking permission, but because I'm providing perspective. And because today, which there is tomorrow, and I know because I've done yesterday, today, and tomorrow from Australia, being an American, they have been able to at least start some of those funeral services in the midst of having to go through all of the other things that have occurred. So we'll talk about Santa Claus tomorrow, if that so be the topic. But today, this has been so far 15 minutes and 33 seconds. 15 minutes is 900 seconds. Will you please stand with me in that 90-second, in that less than 2 minutes of solidarity on behalf of those who are mourning while celebrating a feast, a festivity, and now funerals. I am Dr. Brenda Bowers, the Queen Time Machine, representing the Kingdom Time Zone, God's Clock, Creation's Watch, and all of us united in our 1%, in our 0.01%. I thank you in advance for sharing your thoughts, sharing your experiences, sharing your ideas through a lens of positivity, because it is through our positivity that we are reclaiming the pursuit of happiness that all of creation deserves. Thank you for helping me in this restorative process. It is always only until soon, and it is me, Dr. BrendaB, the Queen Time Machine, out here in these streets, 1 clock tick away. How you spending? Agape and Shalom.